So let's start here. Suspended ANC member Niehaus has been arrested outside the Estcourt Correctional Centre. That's where former President Jacob Zuma began his first day of a 15-month prison sentence. The Justice and Correctional Services Minister says Zuma will qualify for parole after serving a quarter of his sentence. So that'll be just over 3 months and 3 weeks in. Niehaus, meanwhile, was arrested a little earlier this afternoon for gathering a crowd outside the prison gates in contravention of COVID gathering bans. Senior reporter Dasen Thathiah joins us from Estcourt for more. Dasen, good day. We saw your earlier crossings where you were trying to engage with Niehaus. You did get a brief interview with him. You did actually ask him about COVID regulations. Tell us a little bit more about what you understand to be the exact reason for his arrest.
I did, Sal. In fact, that was one of the things that I raised in that short interview that we had with Niehaus, and he insisted that it wasn't actually a gathering that he was holding. He said that it was a meeting of people that was outside the prison where the former president is being held. But within a few minutes after that, it all happened very quickly. Within a matter of seconds, actually, when police moved in, they were here on the road behind me. Some of them are still gathered here now and keeping an eye on some of the supporters that have just dispersed a short while ago. They moved in, they addressed Niehaus, they spoke to him, and as they were walking away, I did catch bits of that conversation where they were addressing him on the issue of the gathering that was taking place outside the prison. But let's get a little reaction from some of the supporters that were outside. I've got with me Mr. Nkosensha. You were there when the arrest happened, and you were quite close by at that time. What did you make of it when police moved in?
Look, it was very saddening. In fact, it's reaffirmed the thinking that we have, the view that we have, that it may happen that this level 4 lockdown has nothing to do with the virus. This lockdown may be just a political ploy to quench the masses so that people do not rise up in solidarity to the sentence of President Jacob Zuma, which is very unfortunate.
Well, you as supporters, as well as Mr. Niehaus that is outside here, I mean, you would have been aware of the risk of the gathering here outside the prison, particularly with police and with the regulations that are taking place. So it wouldn't have been a surprise then that the police moved in to arrest Mr. Niehaus.
Look, you must understand that we were coming here to address the media, and in fact, members of the media, yourself and other people, your colleagues, we did not call you here. You were here to interview Ronald Lamola, and also some of your colleagues wanted our viewpoint. And when Ronald Lamola was doing the same thing that we are doing, the issue of Gatherings Act was not in question. When members of the media are seeking a story, they're interviewing a person, they can stand in their number. They could be 10, a group of 10, 12, close to each other, no social distance. This clever virus doesn't attack them. The police, as they came to take Niehaus, a huge number of them, there was no social distance around them. I do not know if it's their bulletproof that protects them against the virus, but if these people are pushing us this far with the issue of the virus and taking away our freedom, we may begin to doubt if there was ever even a virus.
I just want to get this in. I know that you have been engaging, I think you as well were engaging with someone at the police station. Is there any word as to what's transpiring there? I do understand that you will be making your way there, but what is the current situation right now?
Well, the current situation is that Comrade Carl is being arrested. I think
have they communicated the charges?
They are still formulating the charges, but he's being arrested because I'm told that the police at the police station are saying they're waiting an instruction from above, which means there's somebody that is instructing them to arrest Carl and what to charge Carl for.
So what is the next step for you as supporters? I mean, you've obviously seen the risk here. Police are on standby. They won't allow you to gather here. Where will you be going to, and what will you be doing next?
Well, from here we are going to the police station. We are going to demand that police release Comrade Niehaus. We came here to launch a campaign of Free President Jacob Zuma campaign, and we are going to carry on. And in fact, it is up to the people of South Africa to look at this administration.
Do you think that could be successful, though, outside of the court processes that are currently underway?
I think in a democratic dispensation, democracy is about people. It's about the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. If indeed this is democracy, let the will of the people prevail.
Thank you very much. I'll let you get on your way. Sal, that's the word from some of the supporters there. Consentia Shezi reiterating what Carl Niehaus was saying just before he was arrested. And I asked him the same question as well. What are the prospects of success of gathering outside in the hopes that the former president would be freed?
We're going to listen to a couple of those clips in a minute. But first of all, the gentleman you interviewed said, well, how can the media gather but we can't? Now, my understanding is, of course, that as media we are exempted. We still have to try and observe protocols as much as possible, but we are an essential service. Am I correct?
That's correct. That's correct. And, you know, as far as possible, we do try to take the necessary precautions, especially during these types of press briefings. Fortunately, the one that was held here was outdoors, and there was the opportunity to social distance as well.
Look, I think the point that he made, and it's a good one actually, is there have been lots of other gatherings. A lot of other people we saw over the weekend in Nkandla. Police said they played it safe and didn't go in heavy-handed trying to disperse people because of the COVID gatherings ban, because they were really concerned about bloodshed. We saw a couple of weeks ago in Pretoria the massive EFF march to the health products regulator. That was not stopped in any way. The suggestion is that he's been targeted. It's also the second gentleman you spoke to where he said, oh, they're awaiting instructions from above. But let's just get to where Carl Niehaus finds himself. And you were asking him in what capacity, bearing in mind that he's now been suspended from the ANC temporarily, that he was gathering. And he seemed to suggest to you that the MK-MVA has not been suspended.
Exactly, and that's what he said to me, because he said to me that he's certainly not addressing that crowd in his capacity as an ANC member. But despite that, you know, the other thing about gatherings like this is that you'll recall that's what got him in trouble in the first place, because he was accused of making inflammatory statements. But despite that, he had his own view of what his purpose was here, who he was talking to. I mean, he called it a meeting of people, and he was trying to almost shy away from the fact that it was a political gathering of sorts. And I had asked him also about some of the colors that people were wearing, symbolizing that they were here as ANC members. And to that, he had also said that anyone is allowed to wear any colors or any shirt.
All right, well, let's just take a listen to a couple of the clips from that interview, and then we can chat again afterwards. Let's just listen to our first clip.
I'm registering our support for President Zuma. President Zuma is here inside this facility with high walls and fences. It is painful to know that he's here.
But what can you, apart from the support, which we've seen outside his home as well, what more would this be able to do to the situation that the former president is facing currently?
We will continue to register our opposition. Today, tomorrow, and the day after. We will continue to mobilize to get more people to come here and to register their opposition.
So where do you think Carl Niehaus is going to be in the hours to come? I mean, being picked up for holding an illegal gathering, I wouldn't imagine you'll get put into prison overnight. What do you know about that?
Well, all we know at this point is that he seems to have been taken to the local police station. I am going to seek a confirmation and perhaps more details from the South African Police Service, the official channels that is, to find out the nature of those charges and exactly what the next steps are going to be. But from those on the ground, it certainly seems like they will be processing him at the police station. But as we've learned while following this story, Sally, that things change very quickly. So we will be providing updates as that situation unfolds as well.
Yeah. And talk to us a little bit more about what is going on inside the Estcourt Correctional Services facility. We heard earlier from Justice Minister Ronald Lamola that the former president is in 2 weeks quarantine. Obviously, they have to make sure he's COVID-free. But also, just a little earlier, we've heard a lot of anger because of the leaking of a photograph of the former president out on social media and what have you. Tell us a little bit more about that.
That's right, and let's start with that photograph, Sally. It's been widely distributed on social media. I've seen it in WhatsApp groups as well, and many people claiming that this is an authentic photograph. But despite that, it shouldn't be distributed, and that's what the justice authorities as well are saying, that should not be distributed because those photos should not have been taken in the first place. But the Minister Lamola had also said during the press briefing, when asked about proof, he'd been asked about whether there would be any proof provided that the former president was in fact behind bars, and he said at that time that won't be allowed unless there was explicit permission that was granted by Jacob Zuma, if he himself had agreed, just like any other prisoner, to allow his pictures to be distributed. And as far as we know, that has not happened, and that's why it has now been condemned by authorities to say that that photo should not be distributed, and that it certainly wasn't put out through any official channels.
Just reflect for us, if you will, Des, and you've been covering this for a few days. There's over the weekend so much support for the former president. Today we see just a handful of people outside the prison where he's being held, and then the ringleader of that gathering has now been arrested himself. Things have changed quite markedly in the last few days, haven't they?
They have, and one of the things that we have seen is that, yes, there was that large gathering that was outside his home in the days leading up to what unfolded yesterday. But there were also these other pockets of support that we had seen, even in Durban and other parts of the province as well, and those were smaller gatherings, similar to what we have seen here. But despite that, although the numbers were not necessarily as large here, there were the familiar faces, if I could call it that, from the past gatherings that we've seen, the past showing of support, and they are still here. Although the supporters themselves would not speak to the numbers, I did try to engage some of them off camera, asking about this. They said, they did brush that aside and said that there still is support. It's just it may not all be here. And we saw some of it in the town as well, in the city centre. While this was unfolding here, there were also other vehicles that were driving around the town, people at the back of bakkies, and they were waving flags as well of the ANC, hooting as well. So it's hard to really quantify, Sally, because not everyone comes out. But yes, from the visual side of it, we can see that certainly the group was a lot smaller today.
All right. Thank you so much, Dasen Thathiah in Estcourt. I'll leave you to go and find out what you can about the arrest of Carl Niehaus. Thank you very much for your time. Carl Niehaus, of course, suspended from the ANC temporarily for the utterances he made over the past weekend. He's now been arrested by police in Estcourt for being part of an illegal gathering.